Hello, Gestaltung, Darstellung, digital students. I put together a brief tutorial on how to import your models into this Schlesische Tor context. The first thing we're going to do, the first thing I'm going to point out is I'm using Rhino 5 on a Mac, which looks different. You've got your toolbar here in the same place, but your snapping tools are here in the left, and you don't have this display that you do on PC at the top here. I'll just give you a quick example. If you come to the screenshot of a PC view, you can see that you've got your layers, properties on the right hand side. All these snapping tools are down at the bottom, and you have these selection tools for set view, display, select, viewports, etc. At the top. However, the commands remain the same. So for all intents and purposes of teaching, we'll use Mac here. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is I've opened up this file called Schlesisches Tor 3D plan. So first thing is to import the DWG file of our Vectorworks plan drawing. So here we go. We'll start by importing our file, and I've got it saved here under this name. Open. These are import options. Make sure that your model units is meters and your layout units is millimeters. This preset is fine, so I'm just going to click open. Now what you'll see is my viewport's changed in the top view. To expand the top view plan, just double click. You won't be able to see exactly where this is because it's actually gone to my C plane, which is all the way down here, and my model is all the way over here. So to come to here, the best thing to do is to hit the command zoom. Enter. Then it will give you these options on the side. It looks a bit different on PC. You'll see this in your command at the top. We want to go to selected. And here it's zoomed to my selected model. And the first thing you'll notice is that actually the model is at the wrong scale. If you look down here, you'll see dimensions. And it's 0.15 meters in length, and we know that we've made this in millimeters, so it's correct in millimeters, but we want to scale this up by 100, so we want to make this line, instead of 150 millimeters, we want to make it 15 meters. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is scale, so we select the objects in the plan view and we type in the command scale. It'll ask you for your origin point. I always select bottom left-hand corner where the C plane has snapped to. I'm going to click that, and then it will say scale factor or first reference point. We know that we want to scale this model by 100. So go ahead and click 100, and now it's scaled our model. And when I remeasure, you should see that it's 15 meters down here in the bottom. Yeah. Okay. Yes, something I didn't point out. Sorry. Oh, well, the snapping features are really important. You must have at this stage these options selected. You can turn near off and intersection pattern. You can turn these off. But the most important is to have end point, midpoint selected and project. We'll turn project off later when we need to use things on the z-axis, which is the up axis, if you like. Okay, so we now have our imported DWG file and it's scaled, but I don't know what this is looking like, and I want a reference of my model to show exactly how this looks in 3D space. So first thing I'm going to do is import a bitmap image. So I'm going to go to command background bitmap, enter. and I'm going to select a reference image that I can use to work with. Then I select first corner, second corner of that image. There we go. And you can see here is my bitmap image, and that's what we want to create in 3D. And here is the plan. What we're going to do now is make it. So as you can see, all these lines are separate lines. All these lines are separate, which isn't actually useful to us at this stage in order to create 3D models. So what we want to do first is make these extrusion volumes, the most simple extrusion volumes on this model, which is these 3 boxes here. So first thing we do is join together these lines. We hit the command join, and now that's joined those lines into a box. And I'm going to do the same for these. Again, join command, join, and again for this one here. Okay. So this one here, you can see the line hasn't been created, so we only have this line, and this line. So first we will join these. Join. And now we will create this line here, just using the line tool, the polyline tool. And you can see it's snapping. I'll snap that and there. Hit enter to finish the line. Curve, select. And I'm going to join those together. Okay, great. So now we have 1, 2, 3 joined. Okay, I know the model heights of here, so I know that this is 15 millimeters, this is 30 millimeters, and this is 35 millimeters high. But we know now that we're in meters scale, so I can now say that this is 3 meters, this is 1.5 meters, and this is 30. Sorry, this is 3.5 meters. This is 3 meters, and this is 1.5 meters. So we're going to make an extrusion of those heights in our model. So come to, first is the highest point. We're going to extrude and use the command extrude curve. Enter. Now, when you're modeling, always have your 4 selected views available to you, so you can see exactly what's happening in each view. Right now, I can see the larger model here. Simple command to turn that off, just temporarily, is hide, and that's hidden all the geometries that we don't need right now. We can get that back later by saying show. What we want to do now is see exactly what's happening here, so we need to use the zoom selected zoom, and we want to select perspective, and we also want to go to extents. Select perspective. Zoom. Enter. Zoom selected. So now it's zoomed to this view, so let's do the same for front as well. To repeat a command, just hit enter, select front and selected, and the same for right. Select the right view, enter to repeat the command, and select it. Yep. There we go. Okay, so we're going to extrude these volumes. First one is this one, by 3.5 meters. So we type the command extrude curve, and then you'll see this option appear. We type in 3.5, enter. So there we go. We've now got our first object that's extruded, which is this one here. Next is these two, so this one, repeat the command is hit enter key. This time we're going to extrude it by, oh yeah, I have solid option selected here, that's really important. Volumekörper in German, you want to select yes, ja, because that will create a solid closed extrusion rather than a shell. If I turn the solid off, you'll see it'll extrude me a hollow shape. That's an important thing to note. Extrude solid. We know that this is 1.5 meters in scale. And then we also want to extrude this model by, what was it, 3 meters. So extrude, type in 3, and there we go. So we've now got these 3 boxes extruded, 1, 2, 3. So that's the easiest part of this model. The next thing we're going to look at is a little more tricky. That is to model these curves. But I'll show you some simple commands in order to do that. So we're going to make this curve and this shape on the model, which refers to this part of our geometry. While I don't need these geometries, I'm just going to hide them to make it clearer to view. So in order to work with this shape, I first want to do what I did with this shape here. I want to make a closed polygon. So I want to join these lines together. So we're going to need to use a command called extend. And it will ask you to select boundary objects. Actually, what's best first is if we make that boundary object. So I'm just going to make a box. And there's the curve. That will be my boundary object. And now I'm going to do that command again. Extend. Select boundary object, curve. And then enter. And then select the object that you want to extend to the boundary. And in this case, it's this line, this line, this line. So this has now generated me a shape which is what we want, but we see that the geometry is still separate lines, and they're not joined, and they're not trimmed. So we want to trim each line by the intersecting line. And to do that is a command called trim. So first, select the line that you want to trim, and then hit trim. Select object to trim, and hit the intersecting object. To repeat the command, select enter, this time selecting the inverse curve, enter again, and select the intersecting curve. And that's now trimmed those 2 lines. But you can see here, this line doesn't extend to our boundary object, so we actually need to use the extend command again. Select boundary object, hit enter, and that actually has worked, but we don't see that it's worked. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're going to hit join. Now that should have made us a closed. Yes, it has. It's made us a closed set of curves. So now we're going to create this arc shape here. The easiest way to do this is to model it in the top view plan first with 3 points. So we're going to use this control point curve to select the start of the curve, the midpoint of the curve, and the end of the curve. And I've made sure that I've got project selected. And the end of the curve, and hit enter to finish that curve. So now I have this curve, but it's not editable until I hit the command edit points on. So now I can see that these 3 points have appeared. I can select the point that I want to move, which is the midpoint, because we want to create this arc. So then we're going to hit the command move. point to move from, and we're going to hit vertical because we want to move it in the vertical axes. So the point we want to move it from is exactly on the point, and the point we want to move it to, well, we can see roughly from our model view that this height here is lower than 3 meters, so it's roughly 2.7, let's say. So we're going to move that point to 2.7 and hit enter. Now let's show the other geometries. Just by hitting the show command, yeah, and you can see that's roughly about the height that we want it to be. Let's do the same for this back curve. So we're going to hit the curve command. That's this curve command, control point curve. We're going to hit the first point, the midpoint, and the end point, and hit enter. We're going to select that curve, and we're going to hit the command edit point on. So let's put my points on. We're now going to repeat the process that we did for this curve. And we can see in the model that the back is actually slightly lower than the front of that curve on the midpoint. So we're going to want to move this point by a little less, let's say 2.5 meters. So hit the move command, point to move from. Oh, sorry, didn't hit the vertical command. This is very important because this tells the Rhino that you want to move in the y-axis. Sorry, z-axis, which is up and down. So we hit that point, and now it's moving on the z-axis. We're going to say to extrude by 2.5 meters. So now we've got two curves that represent the front curve here and the back curve here. But they don't, so far there's no geometry there that links these two curves together with a surface. So we're going to first make the floor of this model, of this geometry, by selecting a command called PlanarSrf. And that's created a surface between this curve. We're going to do the same, but use a different command called Loft, L-O-F-T, Loft, and hit enter. And that's now created me a surface between this front curve and back curve. Now we also want to create a closed extrusion. So in order to do that, we first want to select this curve and this curve to make another PlanarSrf. So curve 1. First we need to explode this curve back into 4 separate components. So explode. That's exploded this curve into, so you can see now that that's a single curve. And I'm selecting these two curves to make this face and typing the command PlanarSrf. And that's created the front, and the same for the back. 1, 2, enter to repeat the command, enter. And there we have a volume. We've got a curved volume which represents this curved volume here. But it's not actually joined. It's not it's still an open surface. This is an open surface, this is open, this is open. We want to close it. So we're going to select the objects and hit the command join. And now it's created one closed polysurface. So let's have a look at the model so far. That's what we have. So we're still left to create this shape and this shape. So we go ahead and repeat basically the process of creating this curve. So like we did before, I'm just going to hide those. And I'm going to use that curve. I'm going to create another curve to make this curve geometry here. So I'm going to select now this point. We're going to need more than 2 control points for this object because it's flat until here, this point. Then it drops, the curve drops down, and you get this sort of this shape here that we want to make. So we select our curve, 1, roughly 2. Okay, here I'm now going to select the near. And this will basically snap my curve selection onto that curve. So let's do that again. 1, 2, let's say about here, 3, and 4 to end it. Select that curve, type in the command edit points on. And there you have your edit points on. Now I know that this point here and this point here need to be moved to a height of, well, in millimeters that was 5 millimeters, so we want 0.5 meters. So we want to hit the command move, vertical, point to move from, and the height, 0.5. And there we have a nicely generated curve. You can see that in this view, actually the curve isn't exactly what we want because we've got this rainbow effect, but it will do for teaching purposes for now. Okay, so we're also going to do the same with this front curve. Which is this profile here. So again, we're going to hit 1, 2, 3, 4, and enter to close the curve. Hit the command edit points on. We're also going to select this point and this point of the control curve and move it to match the other profile curve, vertical. Point to move from, select the base with project on. And now the point to move to, which we know is 0.5. There we go. We've got 2 profile curves. You can see in your right view and in your front view. Actually, these curves could be edited because you can see that this is our floor and it actually goes underneath our floor. I'll show you how to do that. Select edit points on again. And actually, if you click and drag, you can see that it moves the curve with the shift key selected. I'm just going to shift it to something about something like that. You can see that it's remained within in the right position vertically. And we're going to do the same with this curve by hitting the edit point on command. Edit point on. And select the curve points and move that with shift on, just so it's not dipping down underneath this line. Great, so now we have two curves, and we want to use the Loft command again. So type in Loft, enter. Normal, do not simplify, Loft. That's given us a surface here, and we want to close. We want to close this surface, so we select these two curves, and we also enter Loft again. And we want to close this front surface here by selecting this curve. There is no curve here. So here's another trick. Dupe face, dupe border, the command is called, and it will select surfaces, polysurfaces, meshes, or hatches to duplicate border. So we select what we want to duplicate the border of, hit enter, and it's given us this line around the surface. And now we're going to hit the command explode, and that's separated the line, so now I have a single line. So now I'm just going to loft between these two. Another simpler way to do this would just actually be Rhino has frozen. It's frozen. Well, now it's unfrozen. Would simply be to extrude curve, and we select the height 0.5 meters. There we go. And we need to close this side as well. So we select this curve, and we say Loft, enter. And we also want to make the base closed, so select the base curves. You can also select this in your top view, it's actually easier to do that. And now we're going to select join, and now we're going to write the command PlanarSrf. That's generated a surface, and now we're going to join all of these together to make a closed polysurface by selecting curve, surface, 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 and the command join. Okay. And finally, I'm just going to hide that geometry. We're going to make the same for this back volume here. So to do that, we just repeat our last process. Let's look at our reference image just to see where we need to place our points. So I'm going to place a point here, roughly here, and here. I'll use 4 points, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that relates to here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hit enter. Edit points on. We need to move these two front points to 3 meters. So I'm going to select this curve point, command move, enter, point to move from, which is the base C-plane. Oh, sorry, I didn't select vertical. Make sure vertical is selected, point to move from, point to move back, and I also need those two curve edit points selected. So edit point on, 1, 2. Let's do that again. Move vertical, point to move from, and point to move to, which we said was 3 meters. So type in 3. There it's made quite a funny curve because the way the software calculates between the curves between points. What we can actually do here is use this curve as a reference, and we're going to make another curve using this as a reference, turning project off. Enter. So now that's something more similar to what we wanted. We can delete that. To turn the points off, just hit escape. Let's delete that. So that's one profile curve, which is the front. Now we need to make the back profile curve. So looking at our model again, it's basically the parallel curve to this one. So let's create the control points first. 1, 2, 3, 4. Enter. Select the curve. Edit points on. I want to move those 2 points vertically. Move point to move from vertical. Well, actually, it would make more sense if we move 1 point at a time. So let's come here. Edit points on. Select the front point, say move, point to move from, vertical selected, point to move from, and point to move to. We know it's 3 meters. Now this time, I'm just going to drag the curve. So we can see in our perspective view, I'm going to drag this curve vertically to create the right profile. So move, point to move from, base. Ooh, I didn't select vertical again. Move, vertical. Maybe let's select a viewport that will help facilitate a better. Let's also edit this one. Vertical. Let's come to the right viewport. Try and select roughly the right profile. This is what it's looking like in perspective. Yeah, we can move this point here vertically as well. Let's come to the right profile. It's really handy to work between your Okay, well, that'll do for now. We're just going to loft between these 2 curves. Loft. Enter. And there we have that back profile curve. And we want to make a closed extrusion again. Okay. So we're going to select this curve, and loft. Enter. Select this curve, And again, we don't have a curve for this front piece. So we're going to extrude the base curve by typing the command extrude curve. I'm going to hit that top point. I could have hit the command 3. That would have also worked. I'm going to do the same with this curve here. Let's type 3. Now you can see it's almost there, but I just need to fill this surface in here. So let's just do it the easy way and create a curve across these 2 points. Hit enter, select curve. Actually, let's create a closed curve. Hit the command PlanarSrf, PlanarSrf. Loft. Enter. I'm just going ahead and finishing. It's just a lot of repeating the same process. So let's join those and type in the command PlanarSrf. Nice command here to save us having to go around all the views selecting is select surf. That's selected all the surfaces, and then I just hit the command join. Voila, it's made a solid. So now, if I hit the command show, we've pretty much generated the whole model. Although the display of this model is somehow broken. But, well, that's probably because we had intersecting curves. Yeah, you can see there's an intersecting curve here. This curve actually is wrong, but never mind. You see the isocurves, that's these things that have made the surface. Explode, let's see if I explode it. Yeah, now I've exploded it, it's displaying the correct curves. It's just when we joined them together, there was a problem. If I was more accurate, that wouldn't be a problem. It's because when I was editing those curves, basically this curve comes underneath that one and we have a problem. But it'll do for now. And I'm just going to extrude our base curve, extrude. This time I'm going to extrude it by 0 points, or minus 0.2. And now we have a base. Great, so there we have our object that's been made from curves. I'm going to select, and it does resemble what we have in our image here. Well, roughly. So group these objects together, hit the command Control G. And we want to move this now into the context of our model in the wider context. So we're going to select that model and write the command first show. Select the model, write the command move, and it's going to say which point do you want to move it from. I'm going to move it from this bottom left. I'm going to zoom all the way out. I'm going to make sure project, okay, escape. First, we want project on, because then we want to move the model, making sure that it's 0 degrees high. Point to move from. Zoom out. Here's our model over here. There are more intelligent ways to do this, but for all intents and purposes for teaching, I'm just going to do it the good old difficult way. And now you can see that the model is in the right scale. And when we come and move it into our model, I'm going to select a reference point. I'm going to make it, this reference point, the edge of that curve there. So now I can use the command in perspective view, zoom, selected, and the same with the right. Enter to repeat the command, selected, and the same with the front view. Enter. Selected, there we go. And we have the model in the right place. And for this lesson, that's as far as we're going to go. Next lesson, we're going to develop this model further. And we're going to we're going to delete the base, and we're going to add and subtract. And we're going to make this into a design from our cardboard model into something that could potentially be a design. And I'll give you a sneak preview with these on these layers because I have them currently turned off. Oh no, I have them turned on. I developed this object here into something like a free-running set of objects and volumes and extrusions. So that's what we're going to work towards for next week's lesson. Okay, well I hope this helped, and if you have any questions or any further advice you want me to give, then please let me know and give me an email. Thank you very much. Bye.